Okay, so thank you for watching. My name is 0 Point. My given name is Ben Ralston, and I'm going to share with you some information that came to me in a vision the other night, and I'm also going to then guide those of you that would like to be in on it. I'm going to guide you through the process, the healing process that was the result of this vision. And I believe it's going to be very, very powerful for those of you that want a powerful healing and are ready for a very powerful healing. Then I believe that you'll get what you want from this process. I'm going to say a few words about myself for those of you that don't know me. I'm a healer, a therapist specialized in healing trauma, particularly abuse trauma. I've been doing that for 11 years now. And I practice many different methods of healing, but one of them is a method called RPT, which is a method that I teach as well as practice. I'm one of the top teachers of that method, and that is a method specifically about healing trauma. Great to see all you guys. Hello, thanks for joining. And just take a moment now to say hello if you haven't already, and give me a thumb or a love heart to help spread this video so more people see it. I'm not doing this for money. This is free, and I'm certainly not doing it for attention or for fame. I don't want fame. I'm doing it because I can, and because this is my vocation. This is my calling. So take a moment to, and also share it. Hit the share button and share it on your timelines, on your walls, with your friends that you think are interested. Just share it as widely as you can, because I really, truly believe that this process that we're about to do together can change the world, particularly because of what is happening in the world at the moment. What came to me the other night was that I had a vision of the energetic consequence.
I'm not really sure. It could be either that one or that one.
Okay, thanks.
Are you sure it went on the big paper?
Maybe it's on the big paper. I'll find it. I had a vision of the energetic consequence of certain types of vaccinations, and I don't know which ones they are. It could be all of them, it could just be some of them. I saw very clearly what happens to the human body in what happens to the energetics of our biology, of our organism, of our being, when we receive this type of vaccine, certain type of vaccine. Before I continue, I want to make it really clear. It doesn't matter what you believe, whether you're pro-vaccination or anti-vaccination, it really doesn't matter. And for the record, I'm not categorically anti-vaccination. I think that there's a time and a place for everything. However, it's very clear to me that there are some vaccines that are harmful, and I have not always understood the specific way in which they are most harmful, but now I do. And the process that I developed, or rather kind of came through me on the back of this vision, is something that can heal this specific consequence that I'm going to talk about in a moment, that is the result of certain vaccines. The consequence is, to put it very simply, that we, those of us that have had this type of vaccine, become disconnected from our own source, from our own center, from our own spirit. And when you understand that what we are as human beings is spiritual beings, spirits, having a human experience in a human body, then you understand that to be disconnected from our spiritual source is almost a form of purgatory. It makes life incredibly difficult, incredibly difficult. And it makes any attempt to grow spiritually and to evolve and to develop through our lifetime much more difficult than it needs to be. At this moment in time, 2020, humanity is going through a huge awakening process. What that means is that as a species, we're becoming more and more connected to source. And we're on the cusp of this great awakening. And one of the things that stifles and prevents the possibility of this awakening is this specific consequence of mass vaccination. Most people alive, especially in the West today, have been vaccinated multiple times and are not aware of this particular consequence and how it affects them. There's a lot of debate about vaccines and does it cause autism and is it good or is it bad, and etc. I'm not going to go into that. And again, I want to reiterate, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what you believe. Almost all of us who have had certain types of vaccines have been influenced, impacted it by that in a negative way, possibly also in very positive ways. I'm not denying that, but for sure in a negative way. And it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not, this process will help you. And really, all I ask of you that go through this process, all I ask is that you come back later and you make a comment under this video sharing the impact that you feel this video and the process that I'm going to guide you through has had on you. And you can come back in a couple of days. As soon as you feel that there's a consequence, leave a comment. But I would also like you to come back in about a week to a month and update that comment along the lines of, okay, it's a month later and I can see clearly now that since I watched this video, this is what's happened, this is what's changed. I believe that if enough people watch this, then there will be a big shift in the collective consciousness. So, great to see you all here. I'm going to start by sharing a little bit about the vision that I had. And then we'll get to the process. I don't want to waste too much time. So the vision that I had was, and I can't share too much detail because it's not something that can really be explained. It's a vision. I felt, saw, knew in that moment that particular types of vaccines affect us energetically by creating a bell-shaped, the shape of a bell that you ring, a bell-shaped shadow, so to speak, over our energy body, suppressing and containing and contracting our natural boundary system. Now, our boundary system, as I've come to understand it, after many years of working with people, including myself, on boundaries, a boundary system is a function of our energy body, which also has correlation with our biology. So, for example, our immune system is a biological expression of our boundaries, our energetic boundaries. Now, what do boundaries do? Boundaries serve to protect us from anything that could be of harm, whether that is, for example, a virus or a germ or a bacteria, or somebody who has an evil intent towards us, somebody that wants to hurt us or abuse us. Our boundary system is supposed to protect us. The second function of the boundary system is to protect and contain our resources, that which we already have and which we need, that which is good for us. In other words, boundaries are there to keep out what's bad for us and to keep in what's good for us. Now, trauma, particularly abuse trauma, the trauma of abuse, is defined as a violation of boundaries. Abuse is a violation of boundaries. And what I saw very clearly in this vision that I had was that certain vaccines violate our boundaries on a number of levels. First of all, the needle piercing the skin is a violation of our physical boundary, the skin being the boundary of the physical body. And secondly, our immune system, which, remember, is the expression of our boundaries in biology. Our immune system gets bypassed, so the immune system is violated. And in that moment, what happens is that our energy body contracts very, very quickly and very, very sharply. And I can't explain quite why that is, but all I can tell you is that it happens. Normally, our energy body is about an arm's length away from us. The boundary of our energy body, and therefore our energetic boundaries, is about an arm's length away from us in every direction. So you stretch your arms out to the sides, in front of you, behind you, above you, below you. That's where our energetic boundaries are. But in the moment of the administration of these particular types of vaccines, this energetic boundary system collapses, contracts very, very sharply, and becomes much smaller than it should be. It should be out there. It contracts and it creates this bell-shaped, shadowy, as I saw it in the vision, as I experienced it, it's a kind of a shadowy, a kind of a dark, shadowy contraction around us. Now, another thing that I want you to understand about abuse is that when our boundaries have been violated, in other words, when we've been abused, we become more susceptible to further abuse. The weaker our boundaries are, the more we attract more violation. And this is very evident, self-evident, when you look at the very well-known, the fact that many people that find themselves in an abusive relationship will leave that relationship and find themselves in another one, and it can repeat multiple times. The reason for this is if you have poor boundaries, if your boundaries are weakened, then you're more susceptible to abuse. And many of you will see, if you look at humanity and you look at what's happening in the world today, that in a way, humanity could be defined by the abuse that it has experienced for the last few thousand years and is continuing to experience, especially today in April 2020, with what's going on in the world at the moment. So my intention for what I'm going to share with you, for the process, for the work that we're going to do together now, I hope, is a widespread healing at the level of our energetic boundaries so that we can expand again. so that we can leave this contracted state and resume our natural, God-given, divine, sovereign state. One of the consequences of this contraction is that we lose our connection, we lose our expanded state through which we're able to connect to other people, to nature, to spirit, and to source. And because of that, we become more materialistic. Without connection to spirit, all we have left is matter. And there are many people, and I was one, many people in the world who have a yearning, have a desire, have a natural tendency towards spirituality, but cannot seem to really make any progress, any development, any growth in spiritual terms. We reach a kind of a plateau, a ceiling beyond which we cannot go. This is one of the reasons for that. So we're going to do the process in a moment. And before we do it, I want to say a couple of things. It's possible that the consequence, or one of the consequences of this process, is that in the short term, you will feel quite disoriented, unboundaried, ironically. And I'll explain why in a moment. It's possible that you will go through what is known as a spiritual death process, which is where the personality and aspects of the person that you identify as fall away and are let go of. And in the short term, you're left in a state of really not knowing who the hell you are. And this can be a very painful process. So I'm giving you a heads up here. Okay, this is going to be a very powerful healing. And there's the possibility that some of you will feel worse before you feel better. I'm doing everything I can to safeguard against that, but it's not in my hands. You get what you need. And if you need a very rapid burst of growth, and if that means that it is disorientating for a few days, then so be it. But it's your choice ultimately whether you participate in this, and the extent to which you participate in it is absolutely your choice. I'm going to suggest that everybody that does want to participate in this video takes at least a moment before we do this to clarify your intention, to crystallize and clarify your intention, pure intention for healing. Don't be here for curiosity. Don't be here out of a kind of a skeptical, cynical, wanting to prove something wrong. If you're not interested, don't participate. Go find something that does engage you and is a use of your time. But for those of you that are open to this, take a moment now, and you may want to take longer. Today is the new moon in Taurus, and it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video today. It's a good time to really get very clear in yourself about what is your intention for anything, but particularly in relation to this video and to the process that I'm going to lead you through very shortly. Because my intention is very strong and very clear. If yours is too, then the combination of our combined intention is going to do two things. One, it will create a very powerful healing for you. And two, it will create a lot of protection for you. Nothing can go wrong. With that kind of level of pure, clean intention, there's nothing to worry about. After, and I will remind you about this afterwards, after the process, for the next 3 days, there are three things that you should prioritize above all else. One is rest and sleep. You will probably feel quite tired after this process, and you may well sleep like a baby tonight. But in the meantime, get as much rest as you can, and for the next 2 or 3 days, get as much rest as you possibly can. If you feel sleepy, lie down. Because when we allow ourselves to sleep or to rest after healing, then the body does what it knows how to do best. It goes through the process of recalibration and integration. The second thing that I recommend you do is to drink plenty of the best kind of water that you can possibly get your hands on, 3 to 4 liters a day. There will be a big recalibration on the physical level, and to rehydrate yourself fully with good water is very useful. And the third thing is to eat well. Listen to your body, listen to what it's calling for, what it needs, and feed your body well. So 3 things: food, water, rest, for 3 days. Okay. Okay. So this process is going to have 3 parts. The first part is that I will be talking a little bit. On the surface, it looks like I'm just talking, but there's a lot more going on energetically. And I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and to relax your body and to breathe deeply during that process. The second part, I'm going to ask you to repeat out loud what I say. I do not want anybody to repeat anything that I say if you don't feel it, if you don't mean it, if it's not coming from your heart. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. Really, what I'm doing with this is I'm reminding you at a deep level of something that is true. And if it resonates with you as truth, then you repeat it out loud. If something that I'm asking you to repeat out loud sounds a bit strange to you, or you don't buy into it, or you don't feel good saying it, don't say it, okay? I'm not here to do anything other than empower you. So anything that you feel is disempowering you, leave it. And the third part, I'll be talking again, and at that point, I will ask you again to close your eyes, to relax your body, and to breathe deeply. At this point, if anybody has any questions who's watching live, feel free to ask. And I'll wait a couple of moments for those questions to come through before we do the process. Yeah, I can see it now, somehow. Yeah. And those of you that have shared this, thank you. And thanks for saying hi and all your comments. And I'm glad to see that other people have had this sense of this contraction and this experience. "30 seconds more. Any questions?" Andrea is asking, is this process good if you are pregnant? Let me just fill into that. Yes, it's very good if you're pregnant. Nothing to worry about. I remembered something that I wanted to say. Some of you may well have children that have been vaccinated, and you may be wondering, if how this applies to your children. The answer to that is a little bit tricky, and I'm not going to go too much into it here, but what I will say here is that first you do it for yourself. First you go through this process for yourself, and you see what the result is. And depending on what your experience is, then you may want to take it a little bit further, in which case you can reach out to me through a message or an email or something, and we'll see. Okay. Okay, I'm ready to go. So, those of you that are participating in this process, please close your eyes gently. Take a very deep breath into your belly. And a long exhale. Again, breathe deep into the belly. Inhaling, allowing the belly to expand with the breath. Filling the lungs. And then a long, slow exhale. As you continue to breathe like this, focus on making each exhale a little bit longer, and a little bit slower, and a little bit deeper. Relax the body. If you see that there's some tension in the body, then have a stretch, contract, and release. And do whatever you need to do to relax the body as much as you're able to right now. Can you turn? As we breathe deeply, relax our bodies and allow ourselves very simply to be present as much as we're able to. I acknowledge, I recognize, and I accept this moment of extreme heaviness. I acknowledge the bell-shaped shadow that descended, covering, obscuring, and suppressing your light. I acknowledge this contraction, this freeze response. And I acknowledge the subconscious association between this particular response on the one hand and safety and survival on the other hand. And I acknowledge the difference. I acknowledge that your safety and your survival no longer depends upon this shadow, upon this contraction, and upon this freeze response. And I acknowledge that you are safe without that, now and from now on. I also acknowledge the pattern, the ancestral pattern of violation, particularly spiritual violation and energetic violation. I acknowledge this for you and for your ancestors and for your descendants and for humanity. Okay, now, for the second part of this process, I would like you to open your eyes and I would like you to repeat out loud what I say, only if it resonates with you, okay? Only if it feels comfortable and good to say it. If not, then don't repeat it. So now, repeating out loud, I am the one who chooses. This is my voice, and this is my choice. I override this biology. As above, so below. I am the light. Now closing the eyes again, breathing deeply, relaxing the body. I'm going to talk a little bit again. Just want you to relax. Allow yourself to be present with the eyes closed. So as we breathe deeply, relaxing, being present as much as we're able to in this moment in time, I acknowledge your energetic boundaries. I acknowledge your divine default boundaried state as a sovereign being, as a child of God, whatever God means to you. And as we breathe deeply, I acknowledge the old paradigm of defense and contraction and materialism. And I acknowledge the subconscious association between that old paradigm on the one hand and your identity on the other. And I acknowledge the difference. That is not who you are. As we breathe deeply, I also acknowledge the ongoing process of returning to the original divine state. I acknowledge your new unfolding boundary system as an energetic spiritual being, as the one who chooses. And finally, I acknowledge your true identity. For all our relations. Okay. So in real time now, as we're live, it would be wonderful if you could share your experience, whatever you felt and whatever you're feeling now. Let me know, please. I'll take this moment while hopefully people are typing some stuff up to remind you that having been through this process, whether you were just involved in it live now or whether you're watching this video later, having been through this process and having participated in it, for the next 3 days, please rest, prioritize your rest. That's the most important thing you can do now, because energetically, physically, and biologically, there will be a big recalibration process going on. And when you go to sleep, your body does what it knows how to do. It recalibrates, it rejuvenates. So rest as much as you can. Do nothing as much as you can, and sleep as much as you can for the next 3 days. Drink plenty of water, 3 to 4 liters ideally for the next 3 days. Best water you can get your hands on, ideally spring water. And eat well. Okay, good. Hmm. Hmm. You see, we're children of God. We're angels. And we've been tricked. We've been duped. We've been misled into thinking we are just matter, just meat. And this has been going on for a long time, and many, many different methods have been employed. Religious indoctrination, the hunting of our witches, and destruction of our spiritual languages and traditions. We've been disconnected from our spiritual source. And one of the ways in which it's been done and is being done is through what is known as a vaccine. And if humanity is going to continue beyond this point in time, we have to reclaim what is ours. We have to reclaim our birthright. And our birthright is to live extraordinary lives, not safety first, not a desperate struggle to survive and to keep as many people alive as possible. Our birthright is freedom. Our birthright is power. Our birthright is love. Our birthright is wisdom and truth and spiritual fulfillment, realization. This is what we should be as a species, hunting, stalking, purposefully seeking. The trick that has been played is to make us afraid. And this energetic contraction that I described earlier is pure fear, pure fear. And my prayer, my intention behind this process is that as many people see it, will very powerfully be put back on the right track, away from fear, back on the right track towards love, towards spirit. So a lot of you are saying things, and that's obviously a good sign, you know. I've tested this on a few people. The people in my spiritual community, my Sangha, did a session on this and helped me to kind of fine tune it. And Kimber as well. So we've been working on this for a few days now. Today because it felt like the right time and it felt like it was ready. And I'm seeing from the common comments, what a lot of the have in common, that it's working how I hope it work. Beautiful, beautiful. So again, just to remind you, those of you that have been through the process and have made a comment, please come back in whenever you feel to come back. It might be tomorrow, it might be a few days, it might be a month, But come back and just update your comment, because what I'm hoping is that more and more people watch this, more and more people go through this process. And it doesn't take many of us to do it to have a big influence on the collective consciousness. If a tiny minority of us do this and release this contraction, then it can be released much more quickly in the collective consciousness. Even 100 of us that do this and feel the consequence and feel our boundaries returning to their natural shape, this can have a very powerful influence on the collective, which in turn will have a very powerful influence on the way things are going in the world today. This is my prayer. I'm just going to look to see question. Somebody saw the bell shape. Okay. Okay. Thank you all for participating, for sharing, for commenting. Please do come back and update. I strongly feel that this process will unfold. It's a big process and it will continue to unfold. Recalibration will continue to take place, perhaps for quite a long time. But for the next 2 or 3 days especially, take good care of yourself. Take it slow, easy. There's nothing to do. Honor your being state, honor your awareness, honor how you feel, honor the energy that is coming through, honor the emotions and the feelings that are coming up. Lots of things are coming up for lots of people, and remember, everything that you feel is justified. There's no such thing as a random feeling or a random emotion. They're all there for a reason. They're all there to be felt. And when you feel it fully, you pass through. Yeah, good. Some people are saying they're going to sleep. That's the best thing you can do. A lot of you are saying something along the lines of, I felt something leave. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so plenty of rest, lots of water, eat well, take care of yourself, and come back and let me know, let everyone else know as well how it's going, what is unfolding as a result of this. Lots of love, and see you soon.